Hi guys, Michael with Juggernaut Welding and Fabrication. I'm doing the SPE Lab CCV reroute kit. It's the stupid crankcase breather reroute kit. We're getting ready to go on Rocky Mountain Race Week, and the truck's almost at 100,000 miles. I don't want to have any issues. Apparently that thing gets plugged up, creates too much crankcase pressure, and can blow out a lot of different seals. But I'm specifically worried about the oil pan. It's a two-piece oil pan, and it's a very, very large job. You pay somebody to do that, it's a lot of hours of labor because they've got to pull the motor up and everything to get to it. But I'm going to swap the camera around here and show you what it came with. So this is what the kit came with. Comes with your little internal catch can. Looks like a dash 12 fitting, 90. A block off plate. This one should sandwich like this on the intake, then like that, your fitting screw in, and like this. Also comes with a length of hose, but this is what we're deleting, this donkey dick piece of shit right here. And FYI, that bitch will leak, so you might want to throw some dry sweep down. Sorry about the shitty camera stuff. So what they want you to do is start by disconnecting the battery terminals, which I did. And for some reason on these Fords, they corrode like a son of a bitch. I usually clean them about every 6 months, and they still get all funky and corroded. So what I started with was pulling the upper boost pipe off of the charge air cooler. That's an 11 millimeter clamp, 11 millimeter T-bolt clamp. Just pull it up and off. I also found a little surprise when I did that. This might be something you guys want to look at on yours. Like I said, we're getting ready to go on Rocky Mountain Race Week, and that trip I definitely don't want to have any problems. But if you look here, there's actually a hole rubbed right through that upper radiator hose. It's like into the cords. So I'm gonna have to see if the parts store's got one of those on hand and replace it. So started there, undid this bolt, or undid this clamp, pulled the boot off, came up to the fuel filter housing. That normally holds your little plastic fuel filter cartridge. I run one of these guys, and it swaps it over to one of these Baldwin filters. They're super cheap, easy to spin on, but it's a H&S, I believe, makes it. I'm spilling shit everywhere. But yeah, there's that T-bolt clamp for the boost pipe, 11 millimeter deep well. So these are 4 10 millimeter bolts that hold that on. Come down here, you're gonna have to take there are 2 fuel rail bolts holding the fuel rail to the intake down here. That one was holding me up, so you want to pull that one out, and then there's one right back here. Pull both of those out of the way. Okay, so after you remove those 2 10 millimeter fuel rail hold downs, there's a bolt there and a bolt that holds it down right there. So you get those off, there's going to be one bolt up front holding the crankcase breather on, one there, and then there's 2 back there, and those ones are, let me see, those are 10 millimeter as well. So those two rear ones are 10 millimeter as well. The hardest part for that was getting the crankcase breather hose off of this barbed fitting right there. So it's got two clips that hold it on, and they actually say in the directions to get rid of it, to break the clips off. So anyhow, that's how far I've gotten. Once you've gotten all those bolts out, the big donkey dick box pulls out of there. It will spill some oil, as I found out. Oh, and obviously when you take your fuel filter housing off of there, you're gonna have to undo your fuel filter, or your fuel lines, your feed and your return lines, to pull that guy up off of there. So now the kit came with all the O-rings. You just have to put them on the parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of grease and lube up these O-rings so that I know that they seal up. So I'll show you guys a picture, or I'll take a video after I've put these plugs on. Okay, so I just got the rear fitting on, the catch can they call it. You're gonna put the thick spacer portion with the O-ring facing down against the intake manifold, obviously. I mean, but I guess somebody might be able to mix it up. But on the directions, on the instructions, they show putting the washers in between that spacer and the engine, and that's not going to work. It wouldn't squash that O-ring down and seal. So disregard that. I took mine out of there. I want it to seal, so I went ahead and left those washers out of there. So both O-ring faces down. So as a unit, take the thicker portion, face it down on the table, take the upper portion, the upper half of the can, with the O-ring facing down, and then put your bolts through there and mount it. It's 2 Allen heads, and then your AN fitting screws into that, and it's got O-rings on both sides. I use one of these aluminum speed wrenches. I do a lot of hot rod fabrication, and these work awesome for those aluminum push lock fittings so they don't mar them up. But you can just use any old crescent wrench is fine, but get it nice and tight, and we're gonna go ahead and go on to the next one. Okay, so what I've got here is I got my catch can put on back there. Used a little bit of red Loctite. I forgot to say that earlier. Red Loctite on the bolts. Leave the washers out. They show inserting the washers between that catch can and the surface of the engine there, the intake. Do not do that. It's not going to seal if you do that. So I don't know why they have that in there, but then that's our other plug or block off plate again. Put a little bit of grease around that O-ring, pop it down in there. I just set it in there and then kind of tapped it with the old meat hammer. And then it's 1 3/16 bolt. Again, red Loctite on it. They provide you with one more 3/16 Allen, and that holds the fuel rail mount on down here, because when we got rid of that big crankcase breather box, now that stud is too long. So that's where that one goes. So I was going to show you guys this also. Earlier in the video I was saying that I use an aftermarket filter head for the I guess it would be the secondary filter up here. You've got your filter down in the lift pump, and then you've got this one up here. The factory one is a janky plastic piece of shit, and these little barbs snap off. One, they're janky pieces of shit, and two, it's fucking expensive to buy that filter set. So what this does is allows you to use a Baldwin filter. This is the filter number if you want to order an H&S kit. But that's the filter number, and then I just order these AFE filters, and it's a single filter cartridge for your lift pump, so that you don't have to buy the two-piece kit. So it's still cheaper to buy the AFE and the Baldwin than it is the factory ones. And you can screw in fuel pressure sensors and probably fuel heaters and shit like that too, but I don't have one. Okay, so all finished up. Put my fuel filter housing or holder mount back on, and that one of those bolts does hold the fuel rail up here, but that big piece of shit box that Ford thought would be cool to put in there is gone. I routed my hose, my road draft tube, I routed it over here underneath the brake booster and then down to the frame rail and just put a zip tie on it. Put my boost pipe back on. That's probably the biggest pain in the ass of this project, is that stupid boost pipe right there, that clamp. The boot is so sloppy. I need to probably replace that one. I obviously replaced the lower one already with this XDP unit, because those shitty plastic couplers that they have snap. I was going down the road pulling a hill one day, and that thing snapped. So this XDP one is nice billet aluminum, and yeah, anyhow, not too hard of an install. Oh, and before I forget, that little rubber butt plug looking deal goes right there on the intake. It just slides over the end of that fitting, and it's not under pressure or anything, so it'll stay on there apparently. That's what they say anyway. So I got everything all wrapped up. You see down there, got the catch can. I routed my road draft tube, or my hose, down behind the brake booster and down through the like inside lip of the inner fender well, and then just down, and then I'll probably cut off the excess because they send you plenty. Like I say, I forgot to mention that that little rubber cap kind of looks like a butt plug that they send you. That slides over that fitting that you disconnected your breather box from. I got my fuel filter mount back on there. There is a bolt back there that holds the fuel, or the fuel rail down, so don't forget that one. Got my fuel lines hooked back up. Let's see what else. Got my overflow hooked back up. My boost coupler back on the charge air cooler. Got my battery terminals cleaned up and put those back on. If you guys are wondering, that is an H&S fuel filter housing. Converts it over that Baldwin again. So let's see what else. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. So on this stupid box, there's a sensor that plugs in right here, and it's attached to the end of this hose. I'm guessing you could probably snap that ring off and plug it back in, but I just started the truck and it didn't give me any kind of code or anything, so I'm glad to get rid of that piece of shit. And thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe if I'm any help at all.